Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on today's webinar to run through LogMeIn Rescue. If we could please give a few minutes as people are joining. We have a few more people joining. It seems like we have a very good crowd today, so let's give it another 5 minutes, and then we will begin the session.
So Rescue is a product by LogMeIn, and LogMeIn is a company that brought you GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar, LogMeIn Central, as well as LogMeIn LastPass. Now, Rescue is the product that really handles the exceptional customer experience by providing a way to provide remote support. It utilizes an agentless kind of setup, and the big differentiator really here is how light the application really is, and the number of state-of-art technologies that have actually gone into this particular solution to actually provide technical teams and service desks a way to provide exceptional service to their customers. So when we look at what the consumer today is all about, they're more demanding than ever. They're highly opinionated, they're also well informed. They expect to be supported via multiple channels. So that demands that the support levels that are available should be always on. It should cut also across multiple devices. And with customer data rising, it's more involving to the support teams now. So the products really have evolved in being able to provide more and more features that are smart and adapting to what today's consumer is all about. And some of these tools actually require specialized expertise. So how does LogMeIn Rescue play in all this? Okay, so you want to address the pain points that are actually being felt in the enterprise. So you have, aging systems, the advent of business on the go. So you have multiple mobile devices, mobile apps for enterprise productivity tools. You have different lines of business demands. And then you have now, to provide data security regulations. And you want to be able to, mitigate some of the threats that are emerging or have been already existing in the data playing field right now. And all this while being able, and having, shrinking resources. So enter LogMeIn Rescue, okay, which is really providing the solution to being able to, one, cost effectively provide deep visibility and support of your technical teams and your internal users or external users. And then LogMeIn prides itself in being able to quickly connect, provide a large number of mobile click-to-fix interventions. And then it provides support and solutions anywhere. Time. It runs on a highly secure platform, and it's reliable and scalable. Over and above that, it does not operate as an independent silo. It's able to integrate with existing service desk tools, particularly ServiceNow, Service Desk, And the ability of LogMeIn Rescue to be customized to the internal branding and feel of the particular organization adds a lot of value, so that it seems like or standardized across the board to the tools that are actually being used by your technical teams. Then over and above that, we're able to provide video and smartphone support, providing resolution where a lot of support situations have been run virtually, and we are able now to run almost half of those issues as a fast point of contact using video. And this is adding a lot of value to the technical teams to provide quick and easy visibility of actually what is happening. An engineer is not going into a situation blind. They can use an L1 or field engineer's mobile phone to provide support. So as we look at the key performance requirements for your remote support solution, what it actually needs, you want to be able to have fast connectivity, okay? Something that initiates the connection in under 30 seconds and less, even considering the user intervention that is actually run at the user end, okay? Over and above that is based on an independent review, LogMeIn Rescue actually connects 90% faster on PCs than a close competitor, and 100% on Mac devices. Okay, so this is a differentiator really in how fast and how robust a product LogMeIn Rescue is. So again, it's also very easy to use. I mean, there's no learning curve with Rescue. It's pretty straightforward. It will integrate with the existing tools. The APIs are available for further integration. And over and above that is, for your service desk tools, you're able to integrate it such that you do not have to interface the actual LogMeIn Rescue panel. You can integrate it with your existing tools so that it lives within your current ecosystem. And then the design is very intuitive, even if you have to use it as a standalone application. And it provides multiple accounts to support multiple customers at the same time. So, an engineer can be tasked with running multiple sessions, and he's able to flip from one session to another. Okay, so by virtue of the proprietary tools that LogMeIn uses, it is able to run file transfers 131 times faster, providing faster reboots, whereby you need to you've applied a change as an engineer and you need to reboot that device. So the tools and the lightness of the particular tools that we have and the design of the solution allows it to reboot much faster. It also, Rescue enables easy session transfers and collaboration. So say, for example, you have a session that is running with one engineer and you need to quickly move it to or escalate it to a different engineer, you can be able to transfer that across. This also works with teams that run in shifts. You can be able to hand over what you're actually working on, and you have complete visibility of what the engineer was doing before you actually take on that particular session. And then we have mobile support. Okay, so all your employees now use the devices as part of either the CRMs, the ERPs, activation tools, notifications, and so this means that the scope of the support teams has been extended to be able to adapt to the tools that are actually being used in the enterprise. So by extension, you have remote support of these mobile devices as a must-have. So as currently we have 67% faster Android connection times, and we have the iPhone app more capable than the competitors. This is actually a part of an independent review that compared a lot of products in this particular field. So when it comes to security, this is an area where the LogMeIn has done a fantastic job with this product by being able to provide bank grade security. You have 256-bit encryption standards that are available to provide two-step logins. So the whole session is encrypted, even for structured support, or even for ad hoc support, whereby you're supporting your internal teams, or you are a vendor providing or service provider providing external customer support. It runs both sessions encrypted. Okay, so when you have this kind of sessions, you want to take away the issue of blame game between engineers and end users. And with this, Rescue is able to provide a lot of reporting, and it's also able to run a trail, an audit trail. So you ensure that the help desk is securely managed, and there's clear visibility of actually what services are actually being offered. So as an overview, we look at what the bottom line benefits of LogMeIn Rescue are. So we're achieving a reduction in costs. Okay, what your user intervention cost would be looking like without Rescue. There's a huge difference because now the travel has been reduced, the speed of resolution has been increased, productivity has also been increased. So with the increased key performance indices, you have better ratings, better levels of satisfaction for your technical teams as well as your end users. And then overall, you have an enhanced customer experience, okay, which when you combine all these factors, you're driving increased revenue for the business. So I think at this point, I would like to get into the actual product so that we can see how it actually works and perhaps simulate a technical session to be able to have visibility into the product itself. Okay, so this is the main technician console. This is the main area where you initiate the actual sessions. So down here, it shows you the listing of the existing sessions that you're currently running. Okay, the current status, is it closed, is it open? It shows you the session IDs that you're running. So we will generate 2 sessions, one to a PC and the other to a remote user on their mobile device. So the typical way to create this is you have multiple connection methods. You can generate using an email. So this is an email that will be sent to a client, and then they will be able to click on that particular email link and start the session. Or you can be able to extend this link and share it with a particular user, or you can be able to push an SMS so that it comes to the mobile device, and you can be able to launch the session that way. So this is the standard, and the standard just refers to the either PC or Mac device. Okay. Then we also have the Rescue Lens, which is the mobile support tool, which also provides the same parameters to be able to access. So I will use the pin generation to be able to generate a pin code. And with this pin code, you just provide the cloud location, that particular URL, to the end user. And now they'll be able to have that particular session initiated. So what this will do on the end user, it will create an applet, and it's a one-time use applet that the user will run. So you'll realize it's waiting for it notifies us that a customer is waiting. The reason why it says customer is because we've used an ad hoc way of connecting. We could have used computers to list existing and known devices within the organization. So to run this session, we start the session. And you'll notice everything that is being done in this particular session is being logged. And it has made us aware that it's using that particular standard of key. Okay. So we know that this session is actually encrypted from the get-go. So when you need to have an interactive session with your users, you have quite a number of information that you can be able to use. You can be able to request for unattended access. And when you request for this access, it's pushed to the end user to be able to have access to this particular, to grant access to the technician to be able to have unattended access. Okay. So typically when you're running service intervention or technical support, you want to be able to collect some information first so that you don't interrupt the session of the user before having that information and correlating that information to understand what your resolution plan is actually going to be. So under system information, we will request the information, and it notifies us that the customer is actually waiting. We actually waiting for the customer to grant us permission to this particular session. So I'll proceed to ask, to have a session, and once it is granted, then you have a complete listing of it. So now we're able to see, what's happening, at a glance. The memory, the CPU information, we have all that information available to us now. And then we're able to capture the process information. So it'll take a while to, populate all this. We'll request the services as well. We'll also request for startup. Okay, so you can clearly see that we have a lot of information around this particular user. We can be able to drill down to what services are running, how they're supposed to run. Okay, and the whole time we're able to log and have a visibility of all this. Okay, now this is all nice. This is all good. Okay, so now you have an idea of what is actually happening, and you have a plan of action. So at this point, you want to either ask the end user to show you what they're actually doing. Perhaps it's a software support call and you want to see exactly what they're doing. So you can be able to request a session to view that desktop. And now we are able to see the session. So I'll do one thing so that I capture two things at the same time. So this user used that particular website. This is the LogMeIn 123. This is for ad hoc support, and use the pin that we generated. Okay. I think it might not be very clear. Okay, so this is a support connection, and it will provide the pin that we generated, and this is the dialogue that this particular user has been having. I'll try to get into it. Okay, so the user is also having this particular, this is the applet that we ran, and you can see there's a complete logging of everything that has been requested and everything that has been shared. If there's a file that has been, you've run a request to share a file, you're able to see that. Okay, so if the demonstration is successful, or you feel that you need to take control, then you can get out of this particular session by using the end of the desktop view, and then now launch a remote control session. Okay, so now we are in full control of this particular session, and we can be able to run whatever application that we would like at this point. and to be able to really have clear visibility of what is actually happening on that particular device. So this is just an example of how we can be able to provide remote support and have it all logged. Again, if we need to transfer files, we can be able to use the file manager that will be able to push devices or files from one end to the other, and it'll log all the files. Another feature of LogMeIn Rescue is that it provides roles and security. So you can allow which technician can be able to have file management or the users, and you can apply this as a policy. So this is applicable as a policy, and you can be able to use it. Okay. And you can see it's quite clear because this just looks like a typical FTP client. Though it is able to schedule the transfer of those particular sessions. Okay, so I'll end that as well. Now we can keep the session active and schedule an intervention on Lens. Now Lens, remember, is the mobile support. So we were looking at the PC support. We can initiate the new session by flipping from standard to rescue Lens, and again generating a pin. So with this, the engineer will have an application on their phone, and the application is Rescue Lens, and all they need to do is just provide this particular pin, and they will have access to this particular environment. So the session has been set up, and you can see it's waiting. I'll pull this down. So we have a waiting session here. I'll flip to that and start it. Okay, so say for example, I want to be able to highlight an issue that is actually happening on site, and my users actually have asked them to provide support. I can be able to request that user to do a thing via chat. Okay. And then I can also request or to ask them to use perhaps a flashlight, because typically some cabinets are actually quite dark, so I can request to use the flashlight, and perhaps now we have proper connectivity. So as a technician, you're able to look at the offending area, okay, and be able to freeze the camera stream, so that now as you freeze that particular stream, you're able to have a discussion around what is actually happening. Over and above that, we can be able to use whiteboard tools to be able to highlight what is happening. So you can ask, what's happening here, okay? So at this time, we're actually viewing the remote user's device. And we could ask them to relocate a cable. We can tell them, okay, fine, I'd like you to move that there. And perhaps I'd like you to connect this there. Okay, and you can perhaps, it's up to you really what you want to communicate and convey, but you can sequence what needs to be done. You could also be able to capture this. Okay, so you want to use it as a reference to an instruction that was given. You can be able to share it and save it. Okay, so it tells you that you've saved it in a certain location. You can use it to review, and you can also be able to use this as an FTP, not necessarily at a technician's device. You can configure this via policy in the rescue administrator, which we will flip into in just a short while. So once the user is able to to do the changes that you have requested, you can be able to now review the changes that they have actually applied, and they can confirm what they have actually done. Okay. So now you can be able to continue with the session and be able to have a new view of the same, and then kind of have proper visibility of what's actually happening in that particular environment. So again, if you need to change something, or we can freeze that particular frame and then perhaps address something else, or perhaps just give the all okay and say everything is fine. Okay. I mean, pretty straightforward. Interface is pretty clear, easy to find what you actually need to have a look at. It's pretty easy to use. There's no huge actually there isn't really a learning curve, so to speak. And like I mentioned, you can be able to hop on to the previous session that you are running and continue as you are while you let this other session simmer. Okay, you can be able to hop onto this session, hop onto the other session as you wish. And then after this is done, the logs are actually saved, these logs that you have on this side, based on what you have configured as a policy within that particular organization. So I'll hop on to the administration center so that we can be able to can refresh this session to be able to ensure that I have a connection here. And I can see, as an administrator, what my technicians are doing. This is an active session that I have captured. I can tell it's using the Lens applet. This was using, this is a PC connection using the applet PC version of it. I can also be able to have ad hoc support for different external engineers who are actually not part of that particular session, but in a remote scenario, you want to be able to provide support. Perhaps it's a remote location that you do not have an engineer, you have a member of staff, and you will classify them here as an external technician. So, it's quite granular in terms of what you can be able to do. We have quite a number of options in terms of the scripts that are available, the visibility that we actually provide. Okay. What are we using for a single sign-on? Because it's quite the enterprise product, because it will connect to your Active Directory and provide a way to restrict access, who can use it, who cannot. You want to be able to have a device check, okay, and what to do when you have an unsupported OS. So you can be able to define the defaults that your user actually has. You have a quick go-to scripts that provide quick and easy ways to be able to send out support. And then if you're using other products, then your API keys will be located in this particular location. Like I mentioned, we have Active Directory synchronization. And this is where we actually configure it. So this is, in an overview, what the global side of settings actually has. We can be able to enumerate all the computers that belong to that particular enterprise, enumerate them there, assign them to particular technicians. So you have, if you have Oracle products, assign them to only Oracle specific engineers who can be able to initiate a session there. You can be able to assign a grouping of VDI devices that you task to the virtual desktop team, and you can be able to enumerate remote users that you actually have. If you're supporting multiple organizations, you can be able to classify them here. And then, like I mentioned, you can have granular ability and features and functionalities enabled for the technicians. Can they receive files? Can they send files? Can they access the file manager tab? Can they reboot a device? Can they request screen sharing? Is it enabled for them to edit the queue, or should they use the queue as mandated by a service desk engineer, so that is it fast come fast served, or based on the priority provided by the service desk engineer? And then, are you able to capture the screen? Okay, this is a huge area of data protection. Are you enabling your users to be able to capture the screen? And this is an overview of actually what you actually have with this particular console. So I think I'd like to end the demo there, and perhaps now engage with any questions or reviews that could have come up in this particular session. You can push them either through unmuting yourself, or sending out a chat. Okay, so I think it's easier to put your questions in the chat. Perhaps your comments, I'll be able to address them. So I guess I don't see any questions. So I think it just goes to speak to the simplicity of Rescue as a product. Simple to use, powerful, and enabling. So I'd like to thank you all for attending this session. If you'd like to have a different approach or a personal approach and a review to the same solution, please feel free to reach out to Distilogix. We will be happy to engage with you and analyze the fitness of the solution and align it with your organization. Thank you.